everyone, it's Justine, and today we're going to be making 2 Halloween cards. We're also going to be learning how to make this spiral background, as well as a couple tips for Copic coloring for beginners. I'm going to get started with my card panel, and I'm using the inside and outside circle stitch dies from My Favorite Things. And these are really cool because I'm going to be using both the outer frame as well as the circle, and I'm going to get the stitch die on both the circle and the outer frame because they have stitching on both sides. I'm using the Fab-BOO-lous Friends stamp set, which has all of these super cute Halloween critters, and I'm going to be Copic coloring them. So I'm laying them down, and using a Copic friendly ink, I am going to be stamping them onto a sheet of paper, and I space them out enough so that I can die cut them. Now I'm only going to show you one of the critters in regular time, and then I'm going to speed up for the rest, but essentially all I do for Copic coloring is I go ahead and I put down the lightest colors, so sometimes I'll scratch above so I know which one's my lightest color, and I color the entire background using the lightest color in my color combination. And then I go ahead and put in the darkest color where I think there would be a cast shadow. So I think about where my lighting's going to come from, and in this case it would be the top left corner. And so I inked up the darkest color, blended out with the medium, and then blended out that color again with the lightest color I used at the beginning to color the whole image. So I don't do anything super fancy, but it does give a nice little effect to it. If you're interested in the particular colors that I'm using for each of these little guys, I have all of the color combinations over on my blog, and you can pick up your Copic markers at My Favorite Things now as well because they have those available. Now I'm going through and I find it more time consuming if I go with individual colors, so I try to do all the grays first, all the greens first, and all the reds together, and generally for me it just saves a little bit of time, but you could do each individual image as well. And you'll notice for the white images, I do add a little bit of gray to add a little bit of a dimension. Then I went ahead with all of the dies here, and because I have a magnetic platform, they do shift sometimes. So I put some washi tape here on all of them, and I'm going to run those through my Big Shot and cut all of those out. Now I'm going to start assembling everything, so I am grabbing my sentiment here, which says Ghostly Greetings. It's also from the same stamp set as the little critters, and I'm going to be adding that to the center of my circle that I created at the beginning of the video, and then I'm going to be arranging all of the little Halloween critters around the circle, but I'm also going to prop up the circle with some 3D foam tape to give it a little bit of an extra texture. So I'm going to grab a card base that measures 11 by 4 1/4, and I'm going to fold that in half to make a top folding card. And I am going to add my frame here on top of that, and it's going to give a nice little white border around it and a nice white on white card. It makes everything very clean and simple looking, which is quite different from the card that I'm going to create next. I like to create clean and simple Halloween cards, but I also like to get inky, and I feel like Halloween is a great time to create sort of mixed media pieces as well, which is why for the second card I went for something a little bit different. Now in order to center things perfectly, I went ahead and I put them on the top, bottom, and the sides, and then I went ahead and filled in the middle pieces. I did my best to try and add the gray and white ones every second image, and then the more colorful ones on the other ones, because I think it gives it a little bit more of a better tone. And I propped everything up onto some 3D foam tape, which I really like. However, I decided to switch 2 of them because I thought the orange one would look good across from the green one. I was just being a little bit picky there, but I think it turned out really cute. I love all of the little critters. They're absolutely adorable. Alright, let's move on to card number 2. This background was super fun to create. So all you need to do is find the center point in your card here, and you can do that using a T-ruler, your paper trimmer, whatever the case is. Just need to find the center point. And I put a dot there that was pretty dark because I know I'm going to be cutting out the center, but if you know you're not going to be cutting out the center, then just do it in pencil so you can erase it later. So I'm going to start off, and I've already planned this out. I did this technique once before with a little bit bigger spirals, and it didn't work out with using 3 colors because I ended up having 2 green next to each other. So you just have to plan out a little bit exactly how many colors you're using so that it works out that you use all the colors the same amount of times. And it's just, if you do a quick pencil sketch, you'll figure it out super easily. So I'm going ahead and I'm making these about 3/4 of an inch or so big, and I'm just estimating. It's really important to do the top half first and then the bottom half. It makes everything super easy to line up. As well as when you're putting your masks down, so these are just Post-it tape from 3M, that you actually don't put it, you leave about the smallest amount still showing of the ink on the side so that you don't get white streaks in between. So you'll see here when I put down my Post-it tape, I put down this one first to determine the size. So I always put it the farther one away. And then I go ahead and I leave a little bit of that orange showing from before so that I can go over it with the purple. And I'm using Distress Oxide inks. So if you happen to have any sort of little mistakes or you get a little bit of ink on your card, it's not a big deal because you can kind of buff out the color. It's really easy. If you notice your color is getting a little bit muddy because you're using the same Post-it tape over and over again, you can change out your Post-it tape, or you can have Post-it tape for the green color, a Post-it tape for the orange color, and a Post-it tape for the purple. I didn't want to have too much waste, so I did it this way, and I found it turned out just fine. Now I'm just going to speed you up until we get to the half of the card finished here so I can show you the next technique you'll need to know. So as you can see, I'm going down to the halfway point, and I have this one here which is perfectly kind of horizontal parallel to halfway down the card. And I'm going ahead and I'm noticing now my tape is getting a little bit gross, and so I'm going to change that out at the halfway point as well. So again, just remember to overlap a little bit with the colors so that you get a nice straight line and you don't get any white marks. If you do happen to get white marks, it's really not a big deal. I'll show you what happens later on if that is the case. So for this one here, I ended up not putting the tape, I put the tape a little bit over too much, and I ended up getting a white line, as you'll see when I take it off, but I'll show you how to fix that in just a second. It's super easy, and the Distress Oxide inks just make this incredibly simple. So I just went and placed my tape once again on there, and I buffed out that white area by moving the tape back and forth. Now that I'm done the halfway point, I'm going to show you how to line up your second one. So all you need to do is actually just line it up. So I'm lining it up with the purple from the top half of the card so I can get an exact spiral and mirror image on the bottom. So you can see here, I've lined it up with that one there, and I'm just going to line it up again so it's a little bit better. And I'm going to get a straight line and an exact symmetrical combination on the bottom half of the card. As long as I line it up with the lines from up above, I have no issues. And the only thing you really need to pay attention to now is making sure that you get your colors right. And remember, by doing a sketch beforehand to see approximately how big your spirals need to be and which colors are going to end up where, you're going to save yourself a lot of headaches doing this. So you could do this with 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 colors if you want to, or even just 2, but you want to make sure that you have the same amount of each color and you have equal parts. So this is where those fractions come into play, and I hope you paid attention in school. I know everybody hates fractions, but again, just a quick sketch will definitely save you a lot of headaches, and you'll learn from my mistakes. Okay, so I'm just finishing up my last strip here, and I'm all finished with the background. I just kind of skipped over it there for time purposes, but you get the picture. And I think this looks really fun. Muddy fingers end up being a bit of an issue, but I wasn't looking for perfection on this background. Next up, I grabbed the circle die that I used in the first card, and I'm going to cut that out, as well as some of these stamps that I pre-colored from the Happy Haunting set. And it comes with these really cute little kids dressed up in their Halloween costumes. And I cut out all 3, but I only ended up using Little Frankenstein and Superhero for my card. So at this point, again, go wash your hands, get rid of those mucky fingers because you don't want to get anything on the white here, and go ahead and add your card panel to the background. While it was attached to the background, I ended up adding a little bit of water onto the Distress Oxides because I forgot to oxidize the inks, and that was my fault, but you want to do that beforehand if you possibly can, but you're also able to do it while having this on here. So to add some water, all I do is put some water into the palm of my hands and flick it onto my card, and you can see the oxidizing effect already happening where I'm getting those little water spots and splashes. You could also use the Tim Holtz spray bottle as well. I do find it's really cool because you get different size mists on it. However, using your hands is also fine. Now I'm going to work on the circle for the inside of the card. I'm going to be stamping the Happy Haunting, which has got a really pretty font, I find. I love that handwriting on the haunting. And then I'm going to add some of the superheroes here with some 3D foam tape on the top of the circle. And once those are added, I simply added this element to the front of my card and pretty much called it a day. So I hope you enjoyed these 2 quick card ideas for Halloween cards. And I hope you give that background a try. It's actually super fun and you could use it with any sort of color combination, really for any season. So give that a try and let me know how it goes. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Be sure to head over to MFT's blog and check out my blog post there and leave a comment for me. It's been absolutely a dream come true designing for My Favorite Things. Thank you so much to My Favorite Things for having me. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel, just head over to the right. Over on the left, you can check out my blog, and I have 2 more videos, the one I created the other day and another MFT video there at the bottom if you're interested. Thanks so much. Have a great week, everyone.